I got a couple questions about the process. First of all, one thing that a lot of people have asked, everything that you just said you did there to be a wholesaler, to go ahead and find the property and turn it over, is that legal?
So it is legal. It actually is not legal in Chicago. I know that they have a law that you can only do one wholesale deal transaction per year.
Oh, okay.
It just came out a few years ago. In Philadelphia, you have to get licensed. You just have to get a business license. It's not anything crazy. I mean, I know a lot of investors that don't follow that law. So I'm not sure how they're even going to really how do I say this, police that law. So, but it is legal anywhere. You can wholesale everything, office buildings, medical buildings, like anything where there is distress from the seller and they're willing to sell at a discount and not at market value. There you go. Like there's a buyer for that as long as it makes sense.
Got it. Now, you said you were in college, so I'm assuming that the answer is no, but I just want to ask the question outright because I think people are wondering. So I get asked this all the time about being a landlord and buying properties to flip. I'll ask the same about wholesaling property. Do you need a real estate license to do that work?
No, I actually know realtors that try to wholesale after they get their license, and it's a little bit more difficult for realtors because you have laws you have to follow. You have an oath you have to follow, right? You have to disclose that you're a realtor to sellers and to buyers.
Yeah.
Mostly to sellers, right? And sellers honestly don't really like realtors. If you want to learn real estate and you really truly want to learn to pencil out deals and analyze deals and find deals, wholesaling is the way. You build a lot of relationships. If you're a good wholesaler, you're gonna build a good name for yourself, right? Like I have a lot of contacts. I have a lot of investors throughout the city, developers that I know. And the reason why, they want to have this relationship with me is because I can bring them value to their business because, a deal that's life-changing for me can be also life-changing for them, or some deal that's really, going to take their business to the next level. So, I know there's people that have made not just $10,000, $5,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. I know people that have made $200,000 on one wholesale deal, one transaction. It sounds insane, like when you don't really know the business and when you're also haven't really been introduced to this world of like this money's possible. It sounds like this is a hoax. This is wild. This is a scam. But once you really get into it and you like truly believe in it, it's a word bill. Yeah.
Now that's awesome. That's awesome. If nothing else, besides making money, you're growing your network. So when you're ready to, like you said, if this is a vehicle to start investing in other types of ways, you're building your network and you're meeting people on all sides of the table. People who have been fixing properties, people who are selling properties, people who, financing. I mean, you're across the board growing your network, which is great one of the biggest things I think any investor, any kind of way, is a huge network. So there's nothing that's going to throw you off your game. But if you don't mind, I want to ask a couple questions about just parts of the deal and parts of doing the process so that it gets some detail. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, all right, so you pick up the phone and you start calling. How do you know who to call?
Yeah.
Where are you finding these people?
So, there's a lot of websites that you can, look up. I would say one of them is PropStream. That's a $100 a month subscription service. It gives you the lead. There's filters that you can filter out for like absentee owners. You can do people that have owned the property for 10 plus years. You can do, there's also preset filters such as tired landlords, such as tax delinquents. Like you can find this stuff online. And there's no magic list out there. Like people are going to be like, well, what's the magic list? Like what kind of filters do you use? There is none. You just have to pick up the phone and start dialing. And you're going to get a lot of people that have maybe sold a property, that maybe have already talked to 100 of you, of the same people that are calling the same page. You just have to stand out. You really, truly just have to stand out. And that's where sales comes in. Like,
so it sounds like it's more like sales and marketing than it is, real estate.
Yeah. So that's why it's, a lot easier to get into this type of way of getting into real estate is because you're not really doing the actual real estate part. You're just analyzing the deals for potential investors.
You're connecting the people.
Exactly. But you're also analyzing the deal because there's a formula to it, right? You want to find how much the house is worth, which is not that easy to do, right? You have to make sure the houses are on the same street or they look alike. You're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges, not watermelon to apples, right? You want to make sure that the house is maybe the same size, 200 square feet above and below of how what the property actually is. Like if it's 1,500 square feet, you don't want to look below 1,300, and you don't want to look above 1,700 square feet on properties, because that's how appraisers actually appraise properties, right?
I'm looking for something that's comparable.
You don't want to look at something that is a mile away if you're in Philadelphia, because you might end up
Different community, different neighborhood.
way different, right?
Yeah.
In some markets, I know that half a mile is good.
Sure.
Just more than enough. But in Philadelphia, you want to go, less than that. You want to go 0.25, maybe you go 0.15.
No, block.
It is block by block. So, you want to make sure that this house is worth, let's say, 200. You want to multiply that by 70%. You want to leave 30% for investors at all times, right? And the reason for that is that 30% includes either the closing costs, their profit, also how much they have to pay for taxes, and also, maybe any realtor costs if they do end up selling it or refinancing the property, right?
Sure.
And then you have to also know how to evaluate and estimate the repairs. You might not be, getting it to the exact dollar, but let's say, just estimate it, right? Let's say, a medium rehab is 40 grand, a full rehab is 70, 80 grand, light rehab is 15, 20 grand, right?
Okay.
But you really have to know how much also things do cost, which is, again, an easy Google search.
Yeah. You'll get that experience.
Exactly. So, after that, you just come up with the offer just like that. You do that, come up with how much this house is worth. You multiply it by 0.7, subtract repairs. Then you subtract how much you want to make on this property. Let's say you want to shoot for 10,000, subtract it by 10,000, and boom, that's your max offer to make to the seller. And right there, you have the formula on how much I should offer to the seller, so that way I can make at least $5,000 to $10,000, and my investor will buy it.
So let me just three-part that back to you. You said, let's say, pretend I found a property at 100 grand, and let's say I don't know the price yet. Found a property. I'm going to go to Zillow, Redfin, or wherever I'm going to look to find my comparables. And if I figure out by looking at other properties, I think this house is worth 100 grand. You found this house before you call this seller. You're going to take that number of 100 grand, multiply it by 70%, 0.7. So now you're at 70,000. Based on what you see in the property, you're going to say, okay, I think repairs are 25 grand. So you're going to take 70, you're going to subtract 25.
Yep.
And that's going to take you to 45,000. And so 45,000, and let's say you want to make 5,000 on this deal, you're going to subtract then from that 45, you're at 40,000. So now that's what you're bringing to the seller.
So now, yes. So now you want to make sure that you either get this property below 40 or at 40,000, or let's say 42,500, you'll make 2,500. Right?
You got it.
You get it at
conceivable.
When you're in, you're making 20 grand. If you get it at 30, you're making 10.
Sure.
Obviously, the buyer is also going to give you feedback, and that's the beauty of wholesaling. As long as you have a deal that is somewhat makes sense, bring it to the buyer. The buyer will go out there, assess it, and tell you exactly what this property needs or how much work you may possibly need. Maybe it needs a lot more.
Overshot or you undershot the
exact repairs. Maybe they might even be like, hey, I'll take it right away. And then you'll realize that you probably, I gave them a really good deal. So, or they'll be like, hey, send the contract. And you're like, damn, I probably could have sold it a little more.
Squeeze a little more money out. So let me, I'm going to go back to the lists, because you said paying for like PropStream. These are services that'll provide you a list of houses.
Correct. Addresses and names of the owners of the property.
Got it. So this is whoever's recorded on deed record. If I didn't want to spend $100, can I find? So I used to go to like the auctions, and I know mortgage foreclosures, tax liens. So I would go down to the courthouse, and they used to give you a little pamphlet of all the mortgage foreclosures coming up that month. So would you take those lists too if I didn't want to spend the money and go through it on your own?
Yeah, you could, but I know that I know that some of them also do cost. Like if you go for the probates or foreclosures in the county, like it's going to cost you a little bit more. It's going to cost you maybe like 25 cents a record, but you're only going to have 5 records if you want to spend $1 or $2, right? But like I would say,
It's easier to go through a service.
Yeah, I mean, you want to definitely do volume. I mean, this game is numbers. You want to hit as many people as you can. So a website and someone I use is Kind Skip Tracing.
Okay.
.com. So kindskiptracing.com. You can go on there. Use my code Anton, and you will get data for 3 cents a record. So
Awesome.
they have a minimum order of 10,000, so you have to spend $300. But there you go. That's your investment. And again, you get 10,000 records. You have 10,000 people, 10,000 phone numbers. They give you like 3 or 4 phone numbers. You have mobile and landlines. Sure. So you have 10,000 people, and you cannot tell me you can't find one single personality from that list. That
would keep 3 days, 300 to 400. That's like 1,200, 900 to 1,200 calls. So there should be a number of deals in that.
Exactly. And later on as you build the business, you can get cold callers. You can hire other people to do it for you. But I think in the beginning, when you're first starting out, it's very important you do it yourself, because I have to learn how to actually do it, so that way you can train people, and that way you can understand that, like, hey, if I did it, you can do it too. Sure, don't tell me you can't make these calls, right?
Damn right. So then let me ask, all right, so that's finding the people. That's finding who to call. So like I heard you say addresses and names. A lot of times, so talk about skip tracing. So if you want to find out information on an owner, like let's say I'm driving down the street and I see a house and I want to know who owns it. It looks abandoned, grass is overgrown. I'm thinking, this is a great block. Somebody obviously doesn't care about that house. How would I find the owner of that?
So there's, like I said, two ways. There's a free way called truepeoplesearch.com. You go on that. It's you have to know the mailing address or the the address of the property. You can just look it up. It gives you a few names. PropStream, same thing. You'll get the data. You can either go on batch skip and skip trace with them. There's skip matrix. There's a lot of things. You can use Kind Skip Tracing as well. Provide them their list, and they'll do it for 3 cents a record. And like, again, there's a lot of websites out there, but I would say Kind Skip Tracing is the best website. It's the cheapest one.
Sure.
And I would say, getting data from them, you could at least save money on the front end, because that's why a lot of people struggle with, is because they don't have enough people to call. They don't have enough leads. Because a lot of people do charge like 15, 20 cents per record to skip trace. So, I mean, 3 cents is a bargain.